My guest today is Peep Laja. I know Peep from back in the day when he was writing articles for his blog Conversion XL. He was, and probably still is, one of the top people when it comes to website conversion optimization. But today his focus is on Wynter, a software that lets you test your messaging with your target audience. This is quite an interesting field, so we spent quite some time talking about it. We also discussed if blogging is dead in 2024 and how to launch and grow a successful digital marketing agency. It was a great chat and I can't wait to share it with you. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Soulo and you're listening to Ahrefs Podcast.
Ahrefs Podcast.
Thanks for coming to Ahrefs Podcast. I've actually known you for quite a while from the Conversion XL days, right? Back in the day, the domain was Conversion XL.
Yep.
And this was maybe year, 2013 or something like that, maybe even earlier. So you are one of the OGs of marketing blogging, at least in my book.
Yeah,
So
I guess 2011, I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I guess my first question to you is pretty fun. Is blogging dead in 2023/24? What would you say?
I think for audience building, it's not how it used to be 10 years ago. 10 years ago, you built an audience on a blog, but now I don't, like, for me personally, there's not a single blog where I would go just to the blog and see what have they posted now. Like, never.
Yeah.
Now, like, social media, in my case, mainly LinkedIn has taken over that functionality. So now blogging is like, it's a link you share on social, or it's for SEO.
I don't even think people are sharing their links on social because
No, not
it's
anymore, but
kind of common knowledge that whenever you post a link, it gets less engagement because social networks demote it.
that's right. Well, you can't put a link in your post, but somebody might ask in the comments, hey, can you link to the full thing? And then
Well,
so social media has limits in terms of like the characters, how long your post can be, and so if you want to write about something in super nerdy detail, you do need to link to something.
yeah, that is true. So I feel that the formats of how people are sharing content, or maybe better to say sharing their ideas, sharing their experience, because I don't really like the word content. It makes it kind of generic. So it feels that people either go to social networks for shorter form things, like I'm going to share this quick idea in a LinkedIn post or whatever, or they would do something more substantial, like a conference talk, like for 30 minutes, or maybe a course. And it seems that, blogs, in a way, how you previously say you would subscribe to someone and you would read every single article. Like back in the day, I was reading Mo's blog all the time. I would start my morning from checking what is happening on SEO Mo's blog. But not anymore. So it feels like blogs are turning into collections of resources. Is this what you feel?
Yeah, totally. It's like not exactly Wikipedia, because most of it is still garbage. But yeah, it's like long form version of my LinkedIn post. That's what a blog is.
Yeah, but you said that blogs are still good for building an audience. What do you
No,
mean
they
by
used
that?
to be. They used to be.
They used to be, not anymore.
No, I mean, that's how I built my following. Like, I started Conversion XL as a blog, and I only turned it into a business once I had 100,000 monthly visitors to the blog, and most of this was direct traffic. They weren't like Googling shit. They were just, what have I posted now? And this behavior, I think, has gone away. And now, if I wanted to build an audience today, I would not start blogging, because also you cannot rank for shit as a new blog. Like, right, like SEO, the ones who studied link building back in 2002, those those guys, you will never outrank them. Never. It's pointless.
Well, at any point in time, there are new trends, new search queries, which it is still possible to rank for even with a new blog. For example, I just recently realized that It's been a while since all the AI craze, and specifically AI in marketing or AI in SEO craze, and we haven't published an article about this. So if you search for something like how to use AI in SEO, Ahrefs wouldn't be there. So it's still opportunity for smaller people who are more agile and faster to react to use SEO even for a new blog.
Well, for long tail stuff or like new like news jacking type of stuff probably, but then HubSpot will publish one of those mediocre listicles and will outrank you in a day, with the most garbage article.
Yeah, like I agree with you. Like the content that we see in search is becoming very generic, and it almost feels that no matter which article you click, would it be number 1, number 2, number 3, they're all kind of the same. What is X? Why X is important? Like the benefits of X, the types of X, and you're like, come on. Yeah,
Totally. And all of that is written by, like 500 a blog post type of a freelance writer who knows nothing about the topic. She or he just Googled a bunch of other blog posts and just, before content marketing was a thing, idiots did not publish content. Like you wouldn't write encyclopedia articles without knowing anything, like now we have created perverse incentives for any idiot to write about anything. I mean, and now we are sitting in a mountain of garbage.
And yet you're still running Conversion Excel and new content is being created, I believe.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Right? So tell me, how does the content production works for that blog right now?
Actually,
so how do you approach
now,
it to make sure that, how do you approach it to make sure that it is not what we just described, that it's better?
Yeah. Actually, right now we are in the process of reinventing and rethinking of what it should be, because the very thing I was describing happened to us. For the longest time, I prided, like CXL was like, my standard was it has to be the best in the world content for our niche. And in the beginning, first years, it was just me writing, and then I had editors, and then who wrote like in my team. But I read every single post and added comments, and it was like a strong editorial process. But then I went ahead and started a new company on the side called Wynter, and then I basically left the day-to-day of CXL, and we did the one of the worst things a company can do to their blog is to hire a content agency. And the content agency, what they did was they were writing content that was fine. Everything is fine, but the fine, might as well be total shit. Like fine content will destroy you, and it destroyed us really. So 2 years of just fine content has fucking killed us, really, in terms of trust, in terms of also organic traffic, because we haven't been attracting new backlinks because the content is just fine and nobody links to just fine content. It needs to be like killer good. So that's kind of what happened. Now we're rethinking it because we see the errors of our ways. And it's like, oh, well, back in the day when we had high standards and then true experts were writing content, that's when shit was working. But the world has now also changed around us, and also my business circumstances have changed because I'm not full-time CXL anymore.
Okay, that is actually very similar to what has happened to Ahrefs blog, because at a certain point we were also doing very well. Lots of people loved our content, we were getting tons of shout-outs, and then I personally, because again, in the beginning I was super involved in everything. I also wrote quite a few articles, I did research studies that created a lot of backlinks, and then I found Josh, who is our head of content, and we started hiring writers, and we started to introduce workflows, standard procedures, etc., etc. And they thought that if I create all these frameworks and workflows and like tell people how to create that, and then I can detach myself and the blog would keep
Mhm.
running at the same pace. But
Mhm.
it happened similar thing to what happened to you with an agency, but for us it has happened because we wanted to kind of templatize our
Mhm.
content
Mhm.
production process in a way. So yeah, now I'm getting back into it, and yeah, basically I'm trying to put myself back into our content production process, and hopefully people in the industry will soon see changes that our content is getting better. I wonder if you figured what you guys need to do to turn the tide, so to say.
Mhm. Yeah, like my current idea for what to do about it is twofold. Like one, you cannot have writers write expert content. So it needs to be a true practitioner who does whatever, you know, for a living, and they write the content. I mean, a writer can edit and like maybe make the story flow better, but like the original idea needs to come from a practitioner, which is how CXL blog used to be. So that's one, and second is an idea for a different type of content, which is not like expert content. It's a unique format, like a curated content type of. So like we started this a newsletter called Fast Marketing, basically where we're finding marketing tactics that are working for somebody really well today, and so when we're surfacing and curating the stories, and a writer can do that because it's somebody else's tactic. We're just being a journalist and writing up what are they doing, like observing it. So I think a writer can work great for that kind of a format because that's what journalism is.
Yeah, I completely agree with you about the expert writing the content about the topic.
Yeah.
That's how it's supposed to be. And I remember that back in the day, in pre-COVID days, when I was also doing some podcast interviews, going to conferences, and whenever I got asked how to create amazing content, I came up with this kind of catchphrase of the most qualified person. I said that the content should be created by the most qualified person in your company. Who is the most qualified to talk about it should be creating this content. This was our key to success. And then I realized that I was the most qualified person for many topics because we write about
Mhm.
marketing and SEO. And we have people
Yeah.
like Patrick Stokes, who's an incredible technical SEO, and you cannot beat him there. But for many topics in marketing, I'm the most qualified person, and I stopped doing this. So the way I'm scaling myself is we have bi-weekly content mastermind calls where I'm trying to push everyone. I'm trying to stress test the ideas that the guys in our team are suggesting, are pitching, and I'm trying to come up with my own ideas and see if that makes sense. Basically, I'm putting myself back in the process, and we'll see if that works.
Mhm.
Uh, Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think previously your domain was conversionxl.com, so it was like a long one, and now it's cxl.com.
Yep. It's because we started other things. So Conversion Excel was a conversion optimization agency originally.
Yeah.
And then I started also in 2014. I started a conference called, and then it was Conversion Excel Live. It was just a mouthful. And then in 2016, I added on like an e-learning business, which we called Conversion Excel Institute. And like Conversion Excel is already a really long word, and so if you add other
Mm,
stuff, and people themselves started saying CXL way before
yeah.
we.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of a signal for me where like, oh, we need to shorten it. And so I bought CXL.com domain from some Chinese company for, I think we paid $42,000, which is a
Okay.
steal for a three-letter domain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
But did what are some common acronyms for CXL that someone else could have used because it fit perfectly for you, but who else could be in the market for it?
Well, I mean, in slang, it's also means cancel. And also there's like
Ah.
a medical terminology for some sort of eye procedure. Like if you search CXL, there's like forgot what it is, but it's
Ah.
cornucopial cross-link. It's some sort of a medical procedure, and it's also something manufacturing related, like a Samsung makes CXL devices. And
Okay. So there is a little bit of market for a domain like that.
Mm-hmm.
So today, it seems that CXL.com, the way you monetize it is by selling courses.
Correct. It's an e-learning business. Yeah, we spun off the agency into a separate brand. It's called Spiro now, and because like being an agency and e-learning two in one, it just didn't work. Like your company cannot stand for more than one idea, I think, or at least not well. The If you read the book 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing, it
Oh,
says
yeah.
the law of line extension. It doesn't work, don't do it. And I tried it, and it also didn't work in my case, and so we split the brands. And so yeah, CXL is a marketing education business.
Tell me if anyone asked you this question before, but what is the conversion rate of Conversion Excel?
I don't know is the answer. So I don't think anybody's asked me that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, we are our stuff is expensive. Like every in Udemy, everything is like $9 or something, right?
yeah.
And also if you have like LinkedIn, whatever membership, LinkedIn Learning gives you, I think it's free or very very cheap. So there's no shortage of cheap content, and then strategies where to play and how to win. And so our strategy has always been we cannot compete on volume, because the only way to make money with $10 courses is volume. And so we can't win in that game. And so since the beginning, we picked the strategy of being premium, the best in our focus area, and also charge accordingly then for it. And so hence, for any, let's say, a luxury type of product, the conversion rate is not as good as for a cheap product. So conversion rate as a singular metric without context is also meaningless.
Let's add context. I don't mind. You have a homepage. You probably have some landing pages where you funnel people, or you have blog articles that are getting some consistent search traffic, and probably you're trying to convert people from those. So, as conversion optimization experts, I wonder, what are your conversions for the course about conversion optimization?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't know this. I don't know the answer. I mean, and we started as a conversion optimization agency, but as I said, we split up. So the agency is a separate brand now that has literally nothing to do with CXL. CXL has zero conversion optimization people today. It's a media publishing house where we're just producing content, curating. So we feature experts from Spiro who are doing the CRO work. But in-house, there's nobody doing any conversion optimization, as a full-time job. And I haven't been logging into their analytics in years, because also, as I said, I started a new company.
So how many people are working on CXL as of today?
Also a good question. I think it's around maybe 15.
15. Okay. Okay. Interesting. So basically, they take care of optimizing the website for conversions into courses.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we should also have some of them on our podcast to talk about those things, because it's very interesting to see like how you guys do it specifically. Because again, we at Ahrefs, we don't care about our conversion numbers. So kind of like you, if you ask me how your homepage converts, I have no idea. How your blog article convert, I have no idea. But at any point in time, whenever we have resources, and we can go back to some of our top performing articles, and we can gauge, are we promoting our product, or are we featuring rather our product well enough in the context of this page that gets traffic?
Yeah.
And we can see areas of improvement. We will just improve them without measuring like, okay, previously it was 2.5%, now it's like 2.7%. So like either we have interesting ideas of how to improve those pages and we will just do them and move on, or we don't, which makes measuring conversion not important, basically.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think as a business, you have to make decisions on like what is the reasonable allocation of resources. And if you're a giant corporation and an uplift, measured uplift of two 0.2% in absolute conversion rate makes you a lot more money. You're like Amazon. Yes, it
Yeah.
makes sense to allocate people there and measure and do it and run experiments. If you're a brand that's only a couple of million in revenue per year, it does not make sense. You need to work on bigger things rather than this micro optimizations.
That's actually a very good point, and I didn't really think about it, but now that you say it, it makes all the sense. Basically, for any e-commerce website that has tons of typical pages, product pages that all have more or less the same layout, and no product
Mm.
photo, some description, some reviews, buy now button, some additional discounts or whatever. Yeah, if you change something at scale for thousands of pages, and in case of Amazon it's like what, hundreds of thousands or maybe millions,
Hmm.
that super small uplift in conversion adds up to an incredible sum of money. But
Hmm.
if we're even talking about uh, affiliate websites where people just promote product, yeah, it also kind of makes sense, because then you can also have kind of templated things, when those blogs at the top display like editor picks and things like that. So this is kind of templated, so it can probably be implemented at scale. But for an average article at the blog or an average landing page that gets maybe like a few hundred visits per week or something, probably optimizing
No,
for conversion is not that important.
no, exactly. Basically, it's a math question, right? And also, it's not like you can 5x the conversions. Like
Yeah.
not in real. I mean, it's only possible if your baseline is like the world's worst website. It's like you're making every possible mistake. Like, and now you go to like average, then you can have a huge jump. But if you start at average, your typical Shopify template is your starting point. I mean, that's already okay, and so you won't 5x your conversion rate from there. I mean, you can get a 10% bump here and there, but then again, what is that 10% relative improvement worth in absolute dollars? you know yeah.
Let's dive quickly into the actual courses. I have some experience myself. Back in the day, I created a course called Blogging for Business for Ahrefs.
Hmm.
And it was a pretty interesting journey, because we first opened it like for a few weeks for free, then we closed it and it was a paid one, and people were like buying it from time to time, but we didn't really promote it. We also thought, should we include it on our higher tier plans, or should we include it to all our customers? Then COVID hit and we opened it for free, and like we got huge amount of people watching it for free, and now it is available for everyone. So yeah, the course is quite an interesting marketing tool, I would say. So if we're
Hmm.
talking about SaaS businesses,
Hmm.
creating a really useful course, because I put in quite a bit of work there. I think in total it took me about a year to create start to finish. While I was obviously doing lots of other things and like
Hmm.
building out this course. And as far as I know, originally you were creating all courses for CXL by yourself.
That's correct. Yeah.
But then you started having guests, like
Hmm.
people who were creating courses for you. Again, domain experts, I
Hmm.
believe,
Yep.
right? Uh, what is the general arrangement with those people? For example, if Ahrefs wanted to bring someone to create a premium course, what is the typical arrangement that you have with those people?
We pay them money. It's flat fee.
Flat fee.
Hmm.
Can you say what that flat fee is? Or does it depend on the person? Or
It
like, how do
depends
you
on how
determine it?
famous the person is,
Hmm.
and what is the ask in terms of like, are we asking for a 1 day of time, like filming time, and prep, so I want to say it ranges from $2,000 to $15,000, something like this. It's a typical range. We started with a revenue share
Hmm.
originally.
Yeah.
So I was the only instructor, and then when we needed more instructors, because like I ran out of things I know, then we did revenue share. But like really, what ended up happening was we were way too generous. Like our revenue
Oh.
share that we offered was like way a lot. So our early instructors made a fuck ton of money, and maybe undeservingly so. Because really, we
Uh-huh.
creating content is the easy part. Selling content is the
Mm.
hard part. It's with any same goes for any SaaS or e-commerce. Just putting a product out there, that's the easy part. Selling it, that's the hard part. So we had all the audience. They did nothing for the audience. So they just filmed the course and then we sold it to the people we already had. And so it was a kind of an unfair trade. And then we were like, well, we could be making double the money if we had our payouts would be less. So what's a better model? And so we landed on a fixed fee, because also if you do rev share on the instructor's part, it's like, well, how much will I make? Like, because LinkedIn Learning does that. LinkedIn Learning gives you a revenue cut, and it's like a Spotify model. You get 0.00001 dollars from every time somebody takes your course. It's like, well, how much will I make? Like, and it's very vague, opaque, and the answer is they will make nothing. And so it's like, well, it's so it's rather than like, we'll just give you this money and now you know exactly how much you're gonna make, rather than a hope for something in the future. And same for like master class, like where the celebrities are teaching
Mm-hmm.
their hobbies. um there is some rev share component, but mostly it's flat fee, like 50 to 150,000 they pay per course.
Now that you say how much your early instructors got from publishing courses at your website, I wish I was one of your early instructors. uh, what did I want to ask? Yeah, you mentioned that the more famous the person, essentially, the more expensive it would be. Well, which generally makes sense because usually people who have larger audience have lots of other opportunities to explore. So you have to get them interested with
Mhm.
a reasonable sum of money. But again, in terms of promotion, if someone is well known, if someone has an audience, then they should be able to promote their own course to their own audience. So I wonder if this arrangement also includes some kind of marketing push on their end, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, we have tried that over the years, but really they are not motivated to do that. And as you pointed out, if they already have a large audience, they can and also mostly will do their own course and sell to their own audience. So there's a conflict of interest here. So, for instance, what we have also figured out is that working with people who are consultants is typically a bad deal for us, because consultants who are looking to monetize whatever they can will absolutely sell their own course. And in fact, like when we approach them to build a course, the contracts language is like, we will own the recording that we produce, but the IP of what you're teaching, that's yours, right? Like, we don't own your knowledge. And so we really pay them for their time to create the course curriculum, and now they have it and they just re-record it on their own and sell it on their own website. And so that's how we learned that actually working with consultants as instructors is not a great strategic avenue for us. And so we've been more focused on in-house folks now, who are much less likely to A, have an audience, and B, um, create a competitive course. So that gives us more unique content that is not available elsewhere. And I'm of course
Yeah,
generalizing. It's not always true in any case.
yeah. And it seems that you've pivoted the educational business of CXL upmarket.
Mhm.
Uh, So yeah, there's some quote, or you mentioned somewhere previously that smaller businesses churned at a higher rate. So you
For sure.
changed kind of the entire positioning to attract bigger businesses. I wonder what changed in your strategy to land higher ticket businesses for essentially the same product, or have you changed the product somehow?
Well, we also so bigger businesses and smaller businesses have different problems.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take conversion optimization as a course. So anybody would benefit from like some best practices, and have a clear headline, and like a visible call to action, but like the basic stuff, right? And
Mm-hmm.
any solopreneur also needs those things. However, what does a large company that runs also just does conversion optimization, what do they need? Well, they have experimentation as a process within the company. There are hundreds of people involved. There's prioritization frameworks, there's collaboration, there's strategic insight, there's data flows between teams. It's all very organized, it's process. And so our courses today, if you go like to CXL, advanced experimentation masterclasses and things we have, is very much for companies that have a formal experimentation program, and so it just speaks to a different buyer. And a small solopreneur does not have any of that and doesn't need it. So we also produce content for a bigger business. I mean, some things are universal. Let's say we'll take Facebook ads or Meta ads. Like the basics are the same whether you're big or small. Only when you scale, nuance comes.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So you,
yeah. Mhm.
so you did in fact change the product. It's not just about changing copy, changing pricing, maybe introducing more tiers that you have, like, I don't know, one workshop with someone from your company, blah blah blah, and even changing your, I don't know, advertising strategy or your content. But you actually now have the courses which target companies with different needs as opposed to small businesses.
That's right. Also, and also like e-learning as an industry is extremely high churn. It's a high churn industry. It's not just us, and in fact, our retention is the best in the industry. However, you take any e-learning business, and they have very high churn, especially like compared to B2B SaaS. In B2B SaaS, and also, of course, enterprise SaaS versus SMB SaaS, very different churn rates. Whereas in enterprise SaaS, if your churn is more than 1% a year, you're failing miserably. No VC will put
Mm.
money. If you're an SMB focused to have 1% annual churn, you're like, oh, we're killing it. So it's sliding scale. So it's very common that in e-learning, the subscription churn, it acts like consumer subscription, like coffee subscription, which means that average subscriber remains there for 3 months. It's the industry average. It's like 3-4 months and they cancel. It's very typical. Now, of course, if the buyer, the smaller the buyer and the less they pay, the higher the churn. The more they pay, the bigger the company, they're less price sensitive, and so they don't churn easily. And then also, if it's a team subscription, like multiple seats, so if it's a single person subscribing, inevitably they will get busy, they won't log in and consume our content, and then the fuck am I paying for? They cancel. If it's 10 seats, let's say 6 are not using it, 4 are using it, they're keeping it, especially if they're not price sensitive. Like, oh, somebody's learning and getting better at their job, let's fund it. And so we have also a team focus, team subscriptions. And in
Mm.
fact, our team subscriptions are now come with unlimited seats. Because what we know is that the more seats they have, the better the retention. And
Mm.
so we're making more money in the long run, even though upfront we will make less money because typically everybody charges you per seat. And so so our take is a little different. And also, if you look at all these e-learning companies, everybody has figured out that like churn is high, and just with content you cannot tackle it. So you need other
Mhm.
things on top. So Pavilion, which is like courses for B2B SaaS marketing leaders like VPs and C-level people, they're focused all on community. You come for the courses, you stay for the community, and the community is not like a Slack group. This is like real in-person chapters in your local cities all around US. Salon dinners and the 5 conferences a year, and like strong membership push. So if you cancel, you also lose access to your real life network. Or take Reforge. Reforge, they have these artifacts, and before artifacts, they had some other thing that they were experimenting with. So they know. Or we take Pluralsight, which is like developer courses, like learn JavaScript and stuff. They have all these software tools now, like kind of like GitHub alternatives. So you come learn coding, and also you manage your Git repos there. So if you just have courses, you're gonna have bad churn. That's it.
what element do you have except for unlimited user seats to retain people? Do you have a community?
Yeah, I mean, over the years we've tried many things. So like what we also have is like what we call playbooks. It's basically you have an outcome you want to achieve. Okay, I want to recover lost SEO rankings. That's my outcome that I want. And then we have a 10-step playbook for what to do about it. What to follow these 10 steps. That's more or less the way to go about it. And so we have thousands of these playbooks. So that was one initiative where we pumped a lot of money and energy in as an idea that this could help. It helped, but only a little bit. So overall, the experiment was a fail, and we've now kind of abandoned it in the sense that we're not producing new playbooks because it just wasn't worth the money. Like I think we put a couple of million in it, and we'll never see the ROI on that money. And we have run different community experiments in terms of different platforms, because we started on Facebook, and then it's like, and we let everybody into our group. More members, more better. And now actually, the more people you get there, the shittier it gets, and in the end, if you let all the idiots in, more idiots will come and they will destroy your group, and that's what really happened. So Facebook group is just, it's dead. And we tried circle.so, but yet a new place to log into was just a massive killer, and didn't really work for us. It's not to say it won't work for other people, because I know multiple companies that have made it work for them. And right now, I mean, we have a community that's with the same login as you log in for courses, but it's not really great. And it's also due to the fact that it's been we've been under investing in it, and it's also, we're a small business. As I said, we're like, it's about 5 million a year business, and so not enough humans, not enough money. You gotta just choose carefully where you put your energy and focus on, and you can't do everything. If you're a big famous rich company like Ahrefs, you have money to do everything.
Not quite, not everything. Even if you have money to do everything, you don't necessarily have the right people to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure like with what you have 3 businesses right now, CXL, agency, and Wynter. So I'm sure the challenge of finding the right people to close the holes.
Totally.
I wanted to share our experience with the community. So we did have a Facebook group, which was at a certain point pretty good, even though we were letting in only people who purchase the subscription. So we were like asking them for their Ahrefs email, and we were checking in our platform if they're a paying customer or not. And we were letting them in. But then again, I think one big failure on Facebook's part is that they didn't give people who own those communities any control over members. Because if we could just delete people who don't have an active subscription, it would help us so much to retain a tight-knit community with people who are more intentional about it. Because people might, I don't know, sign up for a $7 trial back when we had it, get into our group, then cancel their subscription, and we cannot remove them from our group. This is what happened to us as well. The group got bloated, and eventually we realized that we're not getting any traction with our posts because of just so many random people who don't interact with our posts. So we had to stop it. There's like the button called archive or something. And right now we moved to that circle thing, which you mentioned, circle.so or io, I don't remember. We tried getting it off the ground for at least half a year. I think we started in summer. We tried this, we tried that. It's not really taking off. And then we went back to the drawing board and we started thinking, why do we need this community to start with? As in, why do we need kind of like a physical place for the community? Why cannot our community exist just like in theory, so to say, like people who
Right,
use
on
the
LinkedIn or
platform,
whatever.
people, yeah, people who follow us on Twitter, on LinkedIn, people who follow, I know, me specifically, or have this kind of podcast where we can kind of, in a way, communicate with our audience. We communicate with you, but also communicate with our people. So yeah, we're still figuring it out, but yeah, we figured it's just like not a priority for us. It's not that our community would influence our churn as much as our product influences our churn. So yeah, but it was also an interesting challenge to get the community off the ground. Cannot say we succeeded with it, but it's still a journey. Maybe we'll figure something down the road. Let's talk about agency. Spiro. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yep.
Spiro.
Mhm.
Just a quick question. Where is the name coming from?
I wanted a name that doesn't mean anything, is easy to say, and I think it's a derivative of a Latin word spero, which means hope.
Oh, okay,
Mhm.
cool. I thought it has something to do with a spear, like you're throwing
Mm.
a spear at a target or something. How much of your time and mind space does agency have compared to Wynter and compared to CXL?
Well, I stepped out of running the agency in 2016 when I started what is today CXL, the e-learning business. So I've been out of the day-to-day for 7 years now, and
Mm.
I'm a majority owner of the business, and so my involvement is quarterly board meetings, and then the guy who's running it, Ben Lebe, like we grab lunch like once a week, you know. So I don't do anything on a day-to-day basis and haven't been doing for years.
That's quite cool. How big is the agency though?
I think it's like 30, 35 people, something like this.
And how many clients approximately?
I don't know. I don't know
Is it
because I
like
mean,
in hundreds?
I don't. I don't think so. Spiro is very upmarket, so like it's typically a $20,000 a month retainer, and so based on just that math alone, it's not a mass market. Like a single customer is worth a lot of money per year.
Here's a question that I'll probably be asking anyone who has started or used to run an agency. So you just mentioned that you actually uh, changed your focus from the agency to CXL, to the educational part of it, creating and selling courses,
Mhm.
which is interesting. I somehow thought that it was the other way around. You worked on CXL, you started selling courses, and then you started working on the agency. So that's interesting. And basically, the question that I'm now asking everyone with agency experience, it seems that the potential ceiling, or like the size to which you can grow an agency, can be quite large. And my example is Gary Vee. He famously owns an agency. I believe they do social media or something like that. That
Mhm.
it's called Viner Media, and he seems to be doing very well with that
Mhm.
agency. I wonder, like, what kind of aspirations and goals you had back when you were involved in an agency, and why did you decide to remove yourself? Why didn't you make your bet on making this agency like a huge, I know, $100 million business?
Well, I mean, you always want to be $100 million business, but hoping will not equal results. Or like your goal is like a dream. It's very hard to grow an agency. Like most agencies will never get to 10 million in revenue. Like 99% will never. Probably most will not even get to like 2 million. I mean, I started the agency because it was the easiest business to start. You only need a laptop and you need to know some stuff. That's it, right? It's like the cheapest company you can start. And for us, it was like we picked conversion optimization as our niche, which in retrospect, I mean, it was had pluses and minuses. Like as with any niche, is like, well, you're a big fish in a small pond. So you can get dominant and big and known in that space relatively quickly with relative ease. And this is what happened. Like we became the top dog in our pond in a few years. Like it took very little time. But that pond is small. And so if you look at any all these big agencies, and like there are agencies also like doing hundreds of millions in EBITDA, like in profits, like 200 million in profits. These agencies exist, and if you look at these big agencies, what do? They do everything. The only way to get big as an agency is to have a huge TAM, and then you need to sell. You need huge contract values with customers. So you build their websites, and then you run their marketing automations. Obviously, you run their ads, you do their creatives, and then you do analytics, and then the CRO. So these all-in-one agencies are the big agencies. If you're just a mono agency, I mean, like if you think about, like, I don't know too much about SEO agencies, but if I think about like the biggest SEO agency names that I know, they're not too big. Like Siege Media is like under 200 people, and it's one of the big players. I mean, there's been like during the COVID era, there was a lot of these mergers and acquisitions of like private equity funded brain labs, like bought up everybody, and like these things happen. So, but from what I've word on the street is that it's not going too well. I don't know, obviously. So why did I step out? Was two reasons. One was I had the feeling as an entrepreneur, this ain't it. This is not going to become $100 million company. We were growing year over year, but it's like, this is not it. And second was I got tired of consulting. I had been, before I even started the agency, I had been a consultant for 5 years, like a solo consultant. And I think it comes with an expiration date. Like, how many times can you explain the same shit all over again? If you ask me what a p-value is, like, I will murder people. Like, I'm just done. And so I got burned out being a consultant. Obviously, I would have just changed my role, that I'm no longer involved, but I was the name in conversion optimization. Customers like, I want Pep to be, my consultant. So it was hard. And so I wanted something else, and I studied the course business because I wanted to do something else. And we literally just surveyed our email list, asking, "Hey, what else would you buy if we were to sell it to you?" And they said basically education. I was like, "All right, let's try that." And so at first I did like cohort-based courses, where like coaching programs. I ran some coaching programs as a side hustle just to test it. And it went well, and it sold well, and then that was like kind of like the genesis of it.
I like your insight about what an agency needs to do to grow, is like to get high ticket customers. And how do you get high ticket customers? You do everything for them. So I guess essentially the challenge is operations. Basically, you need like a lot of people. You need a lot of people doing very specific things, doing them well, doing them fast, and doing them cheap. Because basically, as far as I understand, agency makes money on the difference of like what is the service costs you to produce versus what the client is paying you. So you have to optimize all your processes to deliver those things to a client cheap. And yet, with all the operations figured out, if you can like do all the SOPs, all the workflows, if you have all the like automations and APIs, you still need to get those high ticket customers somehow. So there's still an element of customer acquisition. Of course, if you're doing your job well, word of mouth and referrals will always kick in. But if we're talking about multiple hundreds of millions of dollars, I think something else should be happening. And the reason why I'm bringing Gary Vee as an example, because he obviously has this massive personal brand. Massive. A lot of people know about him. He speaks at the biggest events in marketing and business. So I would imagine that big brands naturally want to work with him. Let's hire an agency. Let's hire Gary Vee. Like, he's the best. Let's hire. And that is also why he probably can charge premium compared to any agency that is run by an unknown person.
No, for sure. And I mean, imagine, like, I don't know who his customers are, but I imagine it's companies with the size of like Nike or Adidas, right? They're not going to be on a 5,000 a month retainer, right? Like
Yeah.
the contract size is millions in per year. So if you go up market, you can just charge way more money. Obviously, you need more people also to support all the things that are needed to deliver the services, but it's just you will always make more money selling to bigger businesses. Also, you can see the same stuff in like tech startups. Any startup that is relying on VC money will will move up market over time because SMBs high churn, low contract value, big businesses low churn, huge contract value, just way more money selling to bigger businesses. Everybody knows this. So same with agencies. Yeah.
So with those $1 million agency contracts, how important do you think is the founder brand for those agencies? Or if you send a bunch of salespeople with donuts and you just say that we have this large agency with thousands of people and we have like some high tier clients already, that's basically enough.
Well, I think a founder brand is a massive accelerant if you have it, but it's not necessary. I mean, a clear example is Chris Walker and Refine Labs in like
Mm-hmm.
B2B demand gen, where he started his agency and it took it to like 18 million in revenue in 3 years based on his LinkedIn posts alone. Right?
Mm.
Like it's the power of a LinkedIn, as a power of LinkedIn and a founder brand. If you have great original thought leadership content, or Gary Vee is of course a different level of, he's a mainstream celebrity,
Yeah.
but you don't even if you're not a mainstream celebrity, it can be a massive accelerant. I mean, if even look at like non-agency businesses where companies like Elon Musk and Tesla, like a visible founder moves the business forward. I mean, now it might be, backfiring today, but like who's the CEO of like Nissan or Chevrolet?
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, not buying Chevrolet because of a visible CEO, right? But it was true for also Microsoft and Google and in Apple. Visible founder made people buy the product more. And like, who's the CEO of Samsung? Like, I mean, no idea. So, I, and that's also like it's not necessary. Like, people still buy Samsung. Samsung makes a lot of money. Nobody knows who works there. So, I think if you have a founder who is outspoken, charismatic, and has interesting things to say, it can really accelerate your business. But you don't have to.
Yeah, because it seems I've seen some very large agencies and I have no idea who's their founder. I have never even heard of their like agency brand,
Yeah,
and yet they're doing multiple, I don't know, dozens or hundreds of millions of dollars per year. They employ thousands of people and they're basically doing well.
that's right.
So yeah, I guess the founder brand it probably helps a lot,
Hmm.
but it's
Yeah,
still possible to do without it if you're very
for
very
sure.
good at
Like
operations and sales.
we get interest by like big agencies and private equities to, like, hey, can we buy Spiro? Let's talk about like if we, were to acquire you. So I have come in contact with some huge agencies that I just did not even know existed. And it's like, oh, you
Yeah,
you have you do like close to $1 billion in revenue, like Power Digital. And if you go to
I
powerdigital.com, it's one of those, cheesy stock photos websites, like Strategic Solutions. It's like the
yeah,
worst website in the world. And they're like, you're making how much money? Woof. You know, yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. Um, Winter.
Hmm.
First of all, is it bootstrapped?
Yes.
You bootstrapped it with your own money, or do you have partners?
I bootstrapped it from the profits of my other two businesses, mainly CXL. CXL is a historically profitable company, and so yeah. So first 2 years, CXL paid every bill until the business became self-sustaining, and I did do a small friends angel round So like not institutional investors, not like no VCs or private equity. It's like, hey, like Tim, my friend, do you want to put 5,000 in my new venture? And so I had a bunch of people do small checks. Like I think
Yeah.
minimum was 1,000. The largest was 50K, but on average it was like 5,000 per person. So people who knew me, friends and acquaintances, put angel money. Mhm.
How did you came up with the idea of the software?
I came up with that idea by classically solving my own pain. At CXL, we have like 100 plus courses. Each
Mm-hmm.
course has their own sales page, and there's a bunch of sales copy. And I was just writing sales copy for one of the new courses. And I'm like, if the person I'm trying to sell this to reads this, do they find it interesting? Like, do they like, wow, whoa, wow, yes, I want to sign up? Or are they like, this is so boring? I was like, surely there's a way for me to know if they find it interesting or boring. And I started to look for a tool that will tell me this. And then all I found was other people with the same problem. So that was the genesis where I found an unsolved problem. And I had no idea how to solve it, but I found the problem, which is step one: find an unsolved problem. And then also I had become tired of e-learning by that time, because e-learning has its own particular problems. I mean, high churn is one problem, but there's also time to value is very long. Somebody buys a course, they take 3 months to finish something, and then they implement what they learned, and then they get a result. This is like takes a long fucking time, all right? And also, it's because of my personality. I'm a starter. I like, yeah. And I have a failed SaaS in my past, so I wanted to have another goal at a software business, and so I jumped that opportunity.
I didn't know about the failed SaaS, what it was.
Mhm. It was called Train Them. It's like build your own course platform, kind of like what Thinkific or Teachable are
Uh-huh.
today.
How long did you work on it before it failed? Before you
Two
buried it?
years. It was
2 years.
2009 to 2011.
Ah, okay. So that was way, way back then.
Yeah, it was basically a good idea too early in the market.
Okay, okay. So, Wynter, basically, what it does is essentially I see it kind of like as a marketplace which
Mhm.
connects people who are working on some kind of copy or some kind of landing page or messaging with people who are kind of in the target market
Mhm.
to kind of target persona.
Correct.
And those people answer a bunch of questions, review your work, and then you can use those insights from these people to improve your messaging or kind of validate if what you're doing is correct or not. So my question is, where do you get the those target people? So you did one of those, how they called, do you even resonate episodes?
Yeah.
There was Ahrefs. Obviously, we saw it. Everyone saw it. And I wonder who were the people who were answering the survey.
hmm Yeah, you're absolutely right in the description. It's a two-sided marketplace behind the scenes. It's not how we sell it, because
Yeah.
for a customer, it's a seamless experience. But behind the scenes, there's a marketplace. There are two sides: the demand side, which is companies who pay us money, and supply side, which is people with jobs, essentially.
Yeah.
So we are B2B focused. Um, and so all these people are, they have job titles that some B2B companies want to sell to. They could be VP marketing at Ahrefs. So how do we get these people is twofold. We do targeted newsletter advertising. So let's say we want more directors of procurement. So, okay, so what are all these procurement newsletters out there? We identify procurement newsletters, and then we advertise in said newsletters. So it's very targeted, very niche. So that's a great avenue for us. And second is massive cold outbound, which is also very targeted. So we build, basically tools like your Zoom Info, Apollo, and all Cognism for list building, targeted list building, and then you have massive cold email machine that can send, a million emails a month to these people. And the cold email, of course, the effectiveness is very low, but so hence you need to do big volume. And the pitch is also very compelling. It's very high converting pitch, because the pitch is, we want to give you money. Like, we're not selling anything. It's like, hey Tim, how would you like to make another $500 a month to fund your hobbies, your weed habit maybe, or not in Singapore that much, but
So that was my next question to you. Like, how do you get these people interested? So, for example, if someone is an experienced SEO professional who we would potentially want to review our positioning of whatever product, are they that interested in money? Because what's interesting is that when I tried to search on YouTube for Wynter review, because like I didn't have time to sign up and like run experiments. I just wanted to see other people using it. And first of all, there's quite an opportunity for you. I think I might not be the only one searching for reviews of your software on YouTube, kind of to see people using it. Maybe they would use different keywords like Wynter walkthrough or like Wynter features or something like that. But what I saw is a bunch of people kind of like something like surveymaster.com or something. So there's a group of people who make money online by filling in different surveys. And the guy was focusing on the fact that you pay something like $10 to $200 per survey. And he was just focusing on the fact that it's a nice way, as you say, to fund some hobbies or something, but nothing about kind of the professional side. I think he was also a little bit unhappy about the fact that you had to enter your LinkedIn profile, because you guys vet like who are signing up, and you don't just want like random professional survey fillers or something. So he was a bit unhappy about that. But yes, like my first idea when you said how do you make those people interested, and you said we tell them we want to give you money, I was thinking that it might not be a compelling enough reason for me. But if you would say something, you get to see some new products kind of before they enter the market and how those companies pitch products. As a marketer, it would be interesting to me. Or like whatever niche, like procurement. Maybe people who are in procurement, they are interested to see what other companies are doing on that front. So maybe some kind of, I don't know, competitive intelligence thing could be a reasoning for them. But you didn't try any of that?
You're right. Like, they mainly do this because they are curious. It's interesting. It's fun, but they wouldn't do it for free. That's like people have other things they can do with their time. They do it because they like it, but money also needs to be there. And you're absolutely right. The higher up in the hierarchy of the company they are, the less money matters. If you're, second year in your job, man, you want the money. You want the $50. But if you're CMO, you're already rich. You don't care about the money, or not as much. Then you want other stuff. So absolutely right. And the other thing you said, that survey dude, this is one of those adventures in business. You never know what problem you run into. So this is an interesting problem that we are dealing with. So yes, there's an army of people on the internet that are making money by, like make money online without make money without leaving your home industry. And everybody wants that dream, right? Like just make money without doing anything. And it's especially popular in development countries, like your Pakistan and Bolivia and Somalia and so on and so forth. So, and there are these Instagram and TikTok and other influencers who are influencers for this audience, who are, and a lot of these influencers just can make money. Site pitched, and they say, which says that you can make sort of money. These type of people hitting our website every single month. Like if I would show you my traffic for Wynter.com, it was like a 3-year-old startup. You're 300,000 a month traffic every month. Like, yeah, we're killing it. It's all this servitude. It's all this make money doing nothing people. And so we are fighting an active war against them. Of course, they will never get approved on our platform because we validate everybody. But it creates a workload that we have to deal with. It's attention and resource drain for us. Like my verification team. So really, like also we have now outright banned most of the world, like based on IP. We're just discriminating against most of the world, where like you try to Central African Republic tries to go to Wynter.com, we block you based on your IP, just because we could not deal with the amount of spam.
Yeah.
And so the internet is full of all these videos, and we have thousands and thousands of backlinks to Wynter.com from all these make money online websites.
That's one link building strategy.
That's right. Yeah.
How big is your panel as of today?
It's like 50,000 verified people today.
50,000 verified people.
And it's mainly U.S., Canada, and some U.K., Europe too. We haven't really ventured out of these because can't do everything. Got to prioritize. And 95% of our customers are U.S. companies, maybe 5% U.K. And so we cater to these markets today. And yeah, we started out as a point solution for message testing, like you said, but today we've evolved to much more than message testing. Now, actually, the primary use case is ICP research. I'm trying to sell to a certain group of people, like my target, maybe it's VP demand gen at SaaS company with 500 plus employees, something like this. And so they are doing like demand research, essentially. Like, what are the top pain points of my target customers, and like how do they solve this pain today, and what triggers you to go look for solutions, and where do you go to look for solutions, which channels you use besides the obvious Googles and LinkedIn's, things like that. So companies build their go-to-market strategies on top of these insights. So that's the leading use case today. I mean, yes, you can do message testing too, plus user testing, plus preference testing, like this headline versus that headline. You can do all kinds of things, but it's a two-sided marketplace, so we can facilitate any type of exchange. Also, we're doing sales demos now. Like, hey, who's your ICP? We arrange a sales meeting, basically.
So out of those 50,000 verified people, do you have any kind of metric like active people who participate in your participated in a survey in the I guess this cannot be it, because maybe for some people you don't have surveys like for half a year, so you don't
That's
even
right.
know they're active or not. So I wonder like if you track if those people are even still there, kind of.
That's true. Like this participant churn is a thing. Like and some of it is like we spend money and effort to recruit the person, and then because we have a customer requesting them, and then maybe they participate in 2 surveys or whatever and interviews, and then nobody else requests them for many months. They kind of forget about us. They move on with their life, and so this is a problem. Like the marketplace business model has its own complexities. It's not an easy business model. However, all the easy businesses are already done. Only hard ones are left. So it is what it is.
You also have this option of companies bringing their own panel.
Mm-hmm.
Does this mean that those people have to register in your software and you have to validate them through your regular process, and then you'll be reaching out to them onwards? Or does it mean as a company I can bring my own panel, but they would be exclusive to me and you won't have any other line of communication with them apart from the things I do with them?
So you invite them, they're exclusive to you. After they fill out your survey or whatever, we give them an offer like, hey, would you like to do this more often and join? So it's an opt-in offer. If they don't opt in, they will never hear from us again.
Okay, that's a very cool solution. That makes sense. I wonder, maybe it's a bit a tricky question, but it seems that if you have your own panel, you can poll them and get their opinions on stuff kind of with a Google form. Yeah, I understand that, like if you want to send them to a landing page, You have the UI that helps them see the landing page and answer questions about it. But at the same time, you could chop that landing page into screenshots, and it still would kind of do the job. So I
Absolutely.
wonder. So I wonder how you pitch your software for those kinds of use cases. For example, for someone like us, because I would say Pep will just like send them a survey with a bunch of screenshots with our messaging, and that would be it.
Well,
What
yeah,
can you offer on
that
top of it?
it's for free. If you bring your own panel, you pay nothing. So that's it.
Ah,
So it
okay,
just it saves you the hassle of building your own system. So because it's free.
okay.
And really, we make money by giving access to our premium audiences. So yeah, nobody needs Wynter to do customer research with your own customers. That's not what
Yeah,
we're for.
yeah,
If
okay.
you want to know what the market out there who's not using you right now, and they might be using your competitor or something, like what do they think? That's what you use Wynter for. That's how we make money.
I didn't know that. So I've known about Wynter. I knew like what you kind of do generally, but I didn't know that I can just use your software for free for our own panel. That could make some things easier for us. It's not that we do a lot of polling of our audience, but at least I would keep that in mind and maybe consider for some things. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
Do you promote this enough? Do you promote this fact enough that people can just use you for free for their own audience?
we used to, but like anything that is a free offer, you there's a certain law of numbers that needs to work for it to be useful. So we thought it's gonna be one of those things that people use Wynter, and then we get a lot of free users. That dream never happened. Um,
Mm.
so that was one, and second was that people underestimate how hard it is to recruit a panel. So all these people who launch their own, free message test and then sent a link to their email list and like, hey, please participate. 95% plus never get a full panel. And well, if you use the paid panels, it's like 24 hours. Boom, we guarantee like full delivery. And so also, so their first experience was they come and they actually never get full results. And so it was a bad first experience for 95%. And so
Mm.
we demoted. It's still there, the functionality, but we basically gave up on it. It didn't serve our business interest. But since we built the functionality, it's still there. But it's now we are no longer communicating it. We have demoted it in the app, the functionality, because we know it's not doing what we hoped it would do for us.
This shows how easy it is to look smart in one-way communication. So if I were writing a post about you, I would say, oh, they have this free offering, blah, blah, blah. It's a nice way, blah, blah, blah. But you actually been there, you tried that, and you know that this is not something that works. So
I mean, there are a
very
lot of
cool.
businesses, that try the freemium thing. Because like freemium is like a hot thing, right? But like if you
Yeah.
look at Keep, formerly Infusionsoft, marketing automation for
Hmm.
small businesses, the founder told me that he invested like $2 million building the freemium feature set, and the upgrade from free to paid, that dream just never happened, and they just gave up on it after many years and losing millions of dollars. Now they don't have a free plan anymore. So it's not just as like, hey, we'll add a free plan and now they will convert to paid and we'll be rich. It's actually very
Yeah.
hard. You need a
Yeah.
huge
I also
amount of numbers. Yeah.
I also like your point that it's the bad first experience for them because it's not that easy to get your own panel to do those things. It's actually very interesting because again on the surface it seems yeah okay like I will sign up for free even if I don't end up bringing my panel. You might I don't know nurture me with more messages and they already have an account, so if I need something I can just
Mhm.
go. But yeah, the fact that you might have this bad experience and decide oh just doesn't work, not for me, and not come back.
Yep.
So it's actually makes more sense for you to have people use your panel for their first
That's right.
experience because
Because the speed of delivery of responses, it's a wow factor.
yeah.
Yeah, we know it's going to be a wow experience. Also, the response quality, they're like, wow. Like, I thought doing customer research, any research takes long time, but wow, like it's really like, I set it up today, tomorrow, it's done.
That panel of yours
Hmm.
is an interesting asset. It's it's like you can essentially do so many different things with it as long as you have quality people there, and as long as those people are involved and responsive. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that companies like SurveyMonkey, they have something like that, because I think you can do kind of surveys to some target markets using their panels or something like that. Like, what other companies have panels like that? For example, if you wanted to run research, I don't know what people in Texas usually buy their kids for Christmas, what kind of
Well,
toys.
consumer research is extremely
Yeah.
saturated, commoditized to death. Everybody has it, thousands of providers, extremely cheap, 50
Yeah.
cents per response. Like, yeah, so SurveyMonkey or all these other ones, it's in B2B. Now you come to nothing. You either come to
Oh.
nothing, or you go to a traditional market research agency that takes 4 months and $150,000 to do what we do in 24 hours, or it's outright scam. Because in the beginning, when we started, we didn't want to build a marketplace business. I wanted to just solve the problem. So
Mm.
what I thought is, I'm going to go to panel companies and through their API recruit participants, and then add my markup there. And so there are all these panel companies with APIs, and they're very famous, very big. And so we had a customer who wanted B2B SaaS CMOs from certain size companies. And so we ran multiple experiments with different vendors. They said, yes, we can deliver B2B SaaS CMOs, no problem. And these people, and also they said, but no no open-ended questions, only multiple choice. I'm like, where's the insight? Like, no, we need them to type in free format. And so they fought very hard, and like, that's odd, why would you fight us on this? And then they allowed us like two questions or so in the end. And the company, the website was AI for organic traffic. And then these B2B SaaS CMOs were looking at it, and they were like, so what does organic food have to do with traffic on the streets? Meaning they did not know what the concept of organic traffic was. These were
Uh,
not CMOs. These were like Indian teenagers. These were Egyptian, like housewives. These were like stay-at-home moms pretending to be B2B SaaS CMOs. Because
mm.
how it works on these panel companies, they have consumer panels first, and then they do a survey on top. Say, hey, by the way, if for another 50 cents, fill out like what do you do for a living, and then they can write whatever. And they're so it's a fraud, it's a scam. And then now I've learned, like, everybody knows this, that scam and fraud in this industry is rampant. Anybody who's a professional market researchers and has to do surveys with B2B audiences, they know what a scam it is. So then I learned that, okay, hey, we have to do our own audiences because we cannot use anybody else. And also now I realize that it's a moat. It's the biggest asset, because if you look at the functionality, the software side of Wynter, or we have surveys. I mean, it's nothing special about being able to ask questions. Everybody has surveys. So the moat, the magic sauce is in the audience.
Yeah, it's definitely an incredible asset, and the entire business model definitely makes it hard for you uh, to grow it, because you need to basically market on both sides. You need to attract people who would join your panel, and you need to educate businesses on all those intricacies that I, for example,
Yeah.
didn't know. So
Yep.
takes quite a lot of work.
Yep. And it's a hard model, but the easy ones have already been done. So anything that is hard
Yeah.
to do, I also kind of like, because it's hard for competitors too. It's hard for everybody.
Do you see any legit copycats sprawling now that you're getting more and more traction with Wynter? Not the scammy types. We already
Yeah,
discussed scammy types who
actually,
want to make it easy.
Actually, no. So I'm surprised. Like I thought I'm gonna get 2 years of free reign, and then
Yeah.
they will come. Now it's end of year three for us. It's a so 3 years, and today still no. There are some that are very focused on a specific title. So there's one company that does only chief information security officers, like a very focused. I
Hmm.
mean, there's a lot of money in cybersecurity marketing. So, uh, or there are alternative. There's a platform called Respondent, where it's like you go and post a job, like, "Hey, I'm looking for people who look like this and this and this. I'm ready to pay this much money. If you qualify." And but then it's like you have to look at submissions and who qualifies. I need to figure out how much to pay them, incentivize them, and so we handle all of that behind the scenes. So they have a different delivery model, and it takes way longer. Like it to fill your surveys or interviews takes a week or two, whereas we do it in a day, and so it's a different business model there. They just provide participants. We also provide the use case.
Hmm. Have you thought about venture funding? Because you have a proven business model and you have this unique, incredible asset. And it
Hmm.
seems that this asset basically just requires pumping money to grow because, as you said, you're advertising in newsletters. And I'm sure if you pump more money in advertising and educating people on like why they might be joining, even besides making some quick buck here and there, you can grow your panel. And then, as you already mentioned, it's not only about surveys about landing pages, but
Hmm.
you can use, and again, if the panel has skilled professionals, kind of top tier uh, employees and top tier people from different companies, uh, the access to it should also cost a significant amount of money.
Hmm.
So I would imagine VCs would be interested to kind of take a gamble on this kind of thing.
So, a couple of things here. So, first, when I started it, I tried to raise money, and I've been around the block a couple of times. So, getting those meetings with VCs, was not too hard. Like, in fact, I did more than 50 pitches, but
Whoa.
I was unsuccessful in the end at raising money. And the key reason was that they thought the TAM is too small. They thought it's too niche.
Uh,
For VC math to work, you need to become a billion plus. Every company needs to have the potential to be a billion plus company. And they're like, message testing as a point solution. Like, how often do you do that? And like, I mean, like, so they didn't see it. And in retrospect, also they were right, because what I have also learned was message testing really, like, average company changes their website messaging once a year. Average company changes redoes their whole website like every 3 years or so. These are averages, and so these two things are also when they use Wynter. We're redoing a messaging. They come, they do a sprint. Like they do 5, 6 tests, surveys, or interviews, all kind of stuff, and then they do nothing for a year. Or if they redo the website, same idea. So it's kind of like a project-based usage. It's not like they use us every single week. And so also armed with this insight, true market insight, I learned it the hard way. I realized that the Wynter, we are severely limiting our growth potential by remaining a point solution. So now, if you go to Wynter.com, I mean, we call ourselves now Target Market Insights Platform, and there are a lot more use cases there. As I said, surveys and interviews and all kinds of stuff. Now, I think the TAM is big enough that I could raise money if I wanted to. But now, I mean, I'm bootstrapped. I'm growing. We're growing 100% this year. I can do it without the VC money. And so it's like the math question now in my head, where like I also love being my own boss. I don't want anybody breathing down my neck, and not that you only give away 15% or so per investment round. I will still retain a majority, but I don't know. So right now. My plan is that I'm gonna bootstrap to 10 million in revenue, which I hope to be there at like in like 2 years or maybe three. Um, and then you know I'm in a much better power position in terms of like how much money I can ask for how little, and also growth equity and private equity are only interested starting from like around 10 million in revenue mark. So way more funding options become available, and it's very common way also for founders to get rich is this way where you bootstrap to 10 million and then you sell off 30% or so for tens of millions of dollars, and then you're made and you still retain a good chunk of your company. I think it's the most achievable way to wealth for most entrepreneurs, as opposed to be always relying on the VC money, and by the time you raise 5 rounds, you've diluted down to 1%.
Good plan. What can I say? Let's talk about message testing.
Hmm.
You mentioned that most companies do it very seldom. I think we changed our own homepage design once in 5 years, but we do smaller edits more frequently, but again, not too frequently. But
Hmm.
we have recently released an interesting tool in Ahrefs that is called Page Explorer. It's kind of archive.org, where we save snapshots of a page as we crawl it. And we can also see when there were some edits on a page. We're going to develop this tool more because it is pretty interesting to check what changed on the page. And kind of on average, I calculated that on your homepage, wynter.com, there's at least 5 changes per month. Some months were like 10 to 12 changes. Some months were without changes. But almost every month, there would be at least 5 changes here and there, like a sentence here, a sentence there. Sometimes a block would appear. Someone you would change them. And they counted just from July. I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different headlines of your homepage. So right now it is target market insights platform for B2B SaaS marketers. And quick episode of Do You Even Resonate from Team Soulo. For me, that's quite an ambiguous thing. So I don't understand what target market insights platform for B2B SaaS marketers is, just too convoluted. Wrapping up, Do You Even Resonate? So another title was Learn What Your Target Customers Think About You. That is much more clear to me personally. Again, this was a subjective episode of What You Even Resonate. And then was an interesting one, get up to 73% more demos and signups through better messaging. Like very specific, with a number, with a promise. So, and yeah, you seem to be changing not just heading, but there's subheading. I saw kind of, I don't know how to call it, pre-heading, like a piece of text that goes before heading.
Yep.
You tested like different description, you tested different bolding, you tested different bullet points. Like all the time stuff is happening.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that you're tracking any conversions from like what happens when you change this messaging.
What I do is I do message testing, which is a form of qualitative research, which is because somebody converting is a lag metric, but what gets somebody to convert, like the leading indicators. So you can predict conversion by relying on leading indicators like clarity. Do they get it? Relevance. Do they understand it's for them, or do they think it's for them? Then differentiation. Why this not versus the other thing, and then mainly the value. Do I want the value that they are promising to me? And so if those things are, let's say, on a scale of 1 to 5, closer to 5, the likelihood to sign up will go up. So I'm optimizing, eating, drinking my own champagne, running message tests, and getting like, yes, I get it, I want it, and all that stuff. Like, so that's part of the testing. The other part of the testing is I am changing my own positioning. So the things that I was telling you, like, I started as a point solution for message testing. So that 73% headline was the best one I came up with, being a point solution. Sometime this September, I realized, okay, we're going to need to become a platform over a point solution. and I'm looking for ways I'm trying on different ways how to say it. And what we're doing is also, it's a kind of a category creation, because what you can do with Wynter is not a common thing. Like, we are the only one in that available for this. So this target market insights platform, yeah, it's not a thing yet, but it could be a thing, you know. So I'm trying it on, and then I'm seeing how this resonates and affects my pipeline. So what I'm tracking mostly is how many demos I'm getting per week, and
Mm-hmm.
then using this very language in demos, testing it, trying it on in sales conversations. Like, does it resonate? Does it immediately, is positioning? Like, do they kind of understand what to use it for? Or maybe it's like, as you said, it's so vague, I don't get anything. So then I would change it and try something else.
So, how is the target market insights platform for B2B SaaS marketers is performing so far? What do people say about it?
Yeah, I think what is interesting is this headline goes up market, whereas the director level people, who's been my bread and butter, they're less interested because they are more tactical. Like, the message testing stuff worked really well with them, but these people who are creating, responsible for owning the go-to-market strategy, these people now care a lot more. I mean, I know now all these things that I need to do to make it even more, make it better, not just the headline, but like the rest of the pitch. So a new version of the Wynter website is coming, I think, end of this week. It's out. Because yeah, as me becoming a platform, also my ICP is actually changing, because somebody else cares more about the new value prop, which is like, get insights from your target market. All these large, my average customers are like 100 million a year company, and those companies have teams who can execute really well. What they're lacking is insights on what to do. What should we do to begin with? Um, yeah, work in progress
And
always.
yet, and yet, how is it performing? Because in your software, you have those scores, how people rate
Oh
something
yeah,
that is performing.
it is. Yeah, so I mean, we bucket it in the, like, the negative, mediocre, good bucket. So this is all in the good bucket. So far I'm happy, but there are certain things where I know where the clarity suffers. So I know what I need to do to improve it even more.
So, getting all great scores
Hmm.
is not the goal with messaging.
It is, because that
Is
predicts.
it?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes, sometimes like a mediocre score is okay if you're doing something new. So, for instance, if you have a category creation play, like, you don't get what is target market insights, but it's okay because I'm going to stay on message for the next 3 years, and over time it will mean something. Like Gong and revenue intelligence, when they first rolled out revenue intelligence, people were like, hey, what the fuck is that? Well, jargon. Now, oh yeah, we need a revenue intelligence tool. What are we using for revenue? Like, it's a common lingo now in B2B SaaS companies. Everybody's doing revenue intelligence. It's a whole category, like tens of tools doing this now. So it's the same idea. Like, some things, like, I'm okay that they don't get it today. I'm playing the long game here. So even if the score is not great, I know it's not great, and it's fine. Like, I'm strategic about it, because I could always go pander to the masses and aim for like short-term gains. So got to use your own judgment as well.
This is exactly where I'm going because I don't see how your current headline would get better scores than your previous ones because they are much more, I don't know, eloquent, straightforward, catchy. This one is kind of, yeah, it's more like upmarket, enterprisey, ambiguous. And yeah, I get you would probably change the panel of people who you ask about it. You cannot just ask the same people because you're targeting different people with those things.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I think that headline is kind of more complicated, and what you're saying makes sense because there are times where you want to be completely clear and you want everyone get it, you want everyone to like it, and there are times when you want to impose something on people.
Hmm.
Yeah, it might not be as clear, you might not like it, but it is what it is. You'll have to figure it out if you want to use us in a way.
Yeah, that's right. And then there is a better way to convey um, what I want to convey. There's a better headline out there, and we'll get to it. My point of view, personal point of view, is this: that if you have like a creative way to state a headline uh, that like makes people curious, or like, oh, tell me more, yeah, go for it. But in the absence of a compelling creative headline, you need to just state what it is, and you aim, basically aim for clarity. And yes, in my case, the description of target market insights platform, there's years of education now ahead of like what that is and why would you want that. So I'm going to have to try on different ways. What is the easiest way to explain the idea? And so more iteration ahead.
I struggle to find the right way to ask this question, but it's something along the lines of, isn't 5 changes of your homepage per month, 5 to 10 changes, a bit excessive? It's almost like, kind of like in that phrase, you don't walk into the same river twice. Like every time you visit a Wynter homepage, they promise, they tell you something different, they position themselves kind of differently.
I mean, these are not big changes, sometimes it's also like I'm also in sales calls, right? And then I'm in a call, just I say something and I'm like, oh, that flows much better. And so I go and just change it on the website too. I mean, it takes me a minute to change this one line. And I'm not like measuring every change I make. And sometimes it might be just I'm changing a sentence or a subhead. But I think it just flows better. And then I'm also using it to just try it on, because like whatever is my website messaging, I'm now also using it in conversations just to try it on.
It kind of feels that the goal of this exercise to invite people to review your homepage and give you feedback is to actually figure out something that would work for you for an extended period of time, that you wouldn't come get to it. You wouldn't come back to it soon, and won't waste time and just like keep it working for a while. But if you keep changing it, like I said, you changed your homepage 5 times since summer. It kind of means that whenever you were doing this research and getting qualitative feedback from customers, and you made a decision which seemed like a good decision then, a month later it no longer seemed like a good decision. So does it mean that previous research was ineffective, wasted?
No, because the question changed, or the strategy changed. So it served me for that period of time. And we were a message setting tool from 21 to September 23, like message setting tool. And that 73% headline, we used it for a long as while. But
Okay.
since then, in September, basically, it was a strategic decision that we are going to change our positioning. There's also a new website coming, and but like I'm iterating towards it, basically. So my business strategy has changed essentially, which means that we need to communicate differently to the market.
I'm not sure if you know this story, but whenever we needed to redesign our homepage last time, I actually hired 3 different copywriting agencies. Have you heard
Hmm.
that story?
I have. You
Uh,
had a blog post or something, yeah.
yeah, I had a video about it. We had
Yeah.
a blog post, I think, and I told it a few times. But the gist of it is, I hired 3 different copywriting agencies to work independently.
Hmm.
They all followed kind of the same steps. They interviewed our customers. They interviewed me. They scoured Reddit, review websites, and in the end, each of them came up with drastically different copy for our homepage. It was kind of very subjective to their preferences and their core competence. Like if one agency was more into, I don't know, creative approaches, like for example at Wynter.com on the homepage you have this kind of live demo where you can click around things, right? It's embedded into the homepage. So they were offering something along those lines with some other like creative things. Another agency was more experienced in long form landing pages, long form sales pages. So this is what they offered us, to just pump a lot of information to address all the potential customer concerns and such. And another agency was more on the conservative side. So they just like did some incremental improvements here and there without any drastic changes. But in the end, we had on our hands 3 super different pages, even though everyone seemed to follow the exact same blueprint on how to find your messaging, how to find your positioning, yada, yada, yada. So that being said, how scientific is the process of finding your messaging?
Now, the opposite of a good strategy is also a good strategy. It's very important. There can be radically different ways and they achieve the same outcome. So there's a lot of art involved in your personal preference and your whatever. So the key thing is, does the target audience find it clear, relevant, compelling, and differentiated? And how you say those things, there are thousands of variations that are possible. So as long as they find it clear, compelling, relevant, differentiated, it's fine, And then it's the style is a matter of personal preference, brand, how you want to come across, and all these things.
When you did your episode of Do You Even Resonate? I first of all, I wonder, did you ever think that we will be discussing that with you on the podcast and I would be able to kind of, what's the word, rebuke, like rather defend myself or like share some other interesting stories? But I think it is fun. So basically, when you did this episode, the homepage was basically the one that we made with those agencies, and eventually we just took some bits and pieces and Frankensteined the page out of what we liked. And the headline was one suggested by one of the agencies that I quite enjoyed: you don't have to be an SEO pro to rank higher and get more traffic. And the thing is, what was interesting, because I was just rewatching this episode today, knowing that I'll have this call with you. And what's interesting is that you were comparing, or like rather people were comparing our homepage versus SEMrush. And whenever they were writing their feedback in like some kind of open form question where they had to type their impressions and such, what I've noticed, and I think you didn't point it out in the video, is that a lot of people who read our homepage were pointing it out. I like the fact that you don't have to be an SEO pro. That's stuck with me. You don't have to be SEO pro. It's very reassuring. So quite a few of these people who submitted feedback, they remembered it. So basically the name of of your series, Do You Even Resonate? That did resonate with them. While when they were commenting on SEMrush's homepage, they didn't say anything specific. So they said, oh, kind of the overall design seems more professional, or kind of the layout seems more kind of straightforward. So they didn't say anything specific. They didn't say anything that they remembered. And that actually stood out for me. So while I agree with quite a few things you pointed out, they made sense. We actually changed them since. So thank you for free feedback / consultation. But I also think you don't necessarily have to be kind of, you cannot appeal to everyone. I almost think that being memorable and appealing to everyone, or like even appealing to the majority, cannot work at the same time. It's either one or the other.
Yeah. Because you also want to, so there's this concept of cognitive fluency. Like if I just get everything, just it's very, easy to understand. Normally you would want cognitive fluency. However, It's even better if you on purpose inject a little bit of cognitive disfluency, which is like they pause and then they pay more attention. So this is when you on purpose say something in a complicated way because it makes people ponder and pause and pay more attention. So I'm with you, and that's piece is art because it's hard to. There's no scientific formula to get to that, and often I also like to, when it comes to like headlines or subheads or whatever, this idea that I don't want you to get it. I want you to ask, how do you do that? So again, it creates more curiosity, leads to more questions in their mind.
Another somewhat counterintuitive thing that we kept thinking of when we were polishing the positioning of our own homepage. So there's this conventional advice that you need to talk to a lot of your users, you need to identify what they love you for, and you need to put it front and center on your homepage. But with Ahrefs, here's the thing. We started as a link research tool. So we have a great database of backlinks. Some people say that we are the industry gold standard for backlink data. And when you talk to our customers, a lot of people are mentioning this. But at the same time, in the past at least 8 years that I've been with the company, we've developed the product so much and we've expanded to so many extremely useful use cases and features that it would be almost doing people a disservice to just put our backlink data front and center in our kind of USP.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost as like if people in the market already know you for something, what's the point of featuring it on your homepage where you should probably start featuring something that you're not as well known because you want to push it and you want to expand what the market thinks about you?
Mm-hmm. For sure. I mean, I think you want both. You want familiarity and you want novelty at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's classic product marketing. Yeah, especially if you want to change the market's idea about you. You want to focus on the new thing. Like a classic example that comes to mind is not websites, but is an advertising. Is like Toyota Prius had a reputation that it's a slow car.
Yeah.
And now their ad campaign for the latest Prius model is Prius. It's fast now. And the word emphasis on now, they acknowledge, yes, we were slow, but it's now it's fast. So they were leading with the new idea while also acknowledging the past. It's the same thinking, like novelty and familiarity.
So given that there's quite a bit of nuance in developing your positioning and messaging,
Mm-hmm.
do you have a course about it?
Well, of course, it's a B2B messaging course on Wynter's website.
On Wynter's website. Is it like something you upsell? Is it something that comes for free to every customer? What's
It's free.
the deal?
It's free on the website. Yeah.
Amazing. That's very cool. And this segues us nicely into how do you do marketing for Wynter. We don't have much time left, but I think we can dig into like the most effective things. And I think it's your quote. You said the strategy, let's just have the better product and win, is no longer viable. Did you say something like this? I guess you're referring to the importance of marketing.
Say that quote again.
The strategy of let's just have the better product and win, those in quotes, is no longer viable.
Oh, I see. Yes. Basically, the idea that let's just focus on product and it will take care of itself. I mean, it used to be true, the better product won, but today, in every category, there's basically no functional difference between competitors. Like everybody can do everything, and it's hard to have an obviously better product. Like SEMrush and Ahrefs, like is one obviously better? Like is one 2 times better? No, I mean it's so much overlap. So hence you cannot win on functionality. You need to win on other things like messaging, marketing, brand, all these things. How do we do marketing? So there's a lot of founder led marketing. So me being active on social is a lot of it. We do self-referred attribution or whatever you call it. When they sign up, we ask, "How'd you hear about us?" And it's an open-ended field. And I want to say 50% of signups we still get is me. And they follow me on LinkedIn. So that's a lot of it. The second thing that we do is we do, basically webinars. We don't call them webinars, they're workshops or, virtual events, but essentially it's webinars twice a month. And this is top of the funnel marketing, where we talk about topics, that interest our audience, and we drive, depending on the topic, 500 to 1,200 people per event to sign up. And that's how we build our email list, because our SEO, is insignificant, let's say, to be a viable source. But to build our email list, we use events, and then weekly newsletter also drives a lot of business. So it's kind of like this kind of a feedback loop. And my best content from LinkedIn goes into the newsletter content, and my best Twitter content goes on LinkedIn. So I'm testing content on Twitter multiple times a day. The best performing goes on LinkedIn, so that's most of it. And of course we do some retargeting and like this kind of stuff, but also mainly it's content on social or emails.
Then I guess the last question would be about events, because you are doing the spring, which is in-person conference. You're doing Winter Games, is an online event. You do webinars, which is also a sort of event. And I guess my question is, like, events on their own are not a marketing kind of channel, because you need to market events to bring people to events. So it's almost like an intermediary. So you're not promoting your product directly. You're promoting some event. People come to the event and then they learn about the product. So I wonder what was working well for you on that regard. Why are you choosing to do those like in-person events or online events? What are you finding most effective, or like how do you promote them to get fresh people to a funnel?
I think where events come in is actual relationships and perceptions. Now, as a startup selling to big businesses, you have the perception problem of you're a small company, and maybe people don't take it seriously. But if you organize your own conferences, you are appearing much bigger than you are, and so you look more serious, more important. People take you more seriously, and then the people who come there, you have quality face-to-face time with them. And in B2B, where it's long sales cycle and word of mouth goes a long way, that's a strategy there where I built an actual human relationship, and they either buy me later or they become a source of word of mouth for me. And word of mouth is, I want to say, half of our business. Um, and so I want people to know us, know about us, what do you use us for, and like us. And so events is a great way to achieve that.
Pep, this has been great. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.